Welcome to a very special episode of the Splitfire Gaming Podcast. You all wanted it. We got them back. It's international trophy-winning expert fantasy player, Allan.
The only thing that's true there is my name. International?
That wasn't a national tournament. Anyone from any nation could have turned up. The fact they chose not to is irrelevant.
What were the other things you said? I did, yeah.
Award.
Spoilers alert.
Well, yeah, if you don't want to know what happened at the Triple Crown contest, skip forward to timestamp, which I'm not going to put up. Before we tackle the subject at hand of the Triple Crown, I was just thinking you're like the Guinan of my show now, in that you're a big celebrity who keeps recurring on my show.
Wait, are you comparing yourself to Jean-Luc Picard?
Well, I'm more comparing you to Whoopi Goldberg.
I tell you what, though, Guinan, she'd been through some shit. Guinan, yeah.
But what's her comp score? That's the main issue.
Guinan is -5 comp.
Well, you should play Q really in any sort of tournament situation.
Yeah, he's a straight band. Q is. He's a straight band.
Just -20 and he still wins.
But his only weakness is Captain Janeway. That's his only weakness.
What would Janeway play? Dark Elves.
I don't know. Anything that justifies the means. What army is trying to find their way home? At all times.
I was going to say what army is very inconsistent in their application of their own morality.
Yeah, could be Dark Elves. Could be Wood Elves.
Wood Elves, yes. Wood Elves, yeah, because they change all the time. For my Star Trek podcast, stay tuned.
I tell you what, I'll be up for that. I'm a big Star Trek fan, so yeah, but that's something you didn't know, is it? You could have assumed it, but no,
I didn't know that because I wanted to talk about the Star Trek 6, the Undiscovered Country. I'll just spew this on this channel because I think it's the best film they did. But...
No.
Right. Well, we'll come back to
that. Wait, you on about the original series cast, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Okay then.
Well, and all of them, all the other films as well.
No, well, that's just not true, is it?
That's
it's like saying High Elves is the best army.
Yeah, so it's right. Well, actually, it's the 11th best army, but we'll get on to that. The topic at hand is a special because we both went to the aforementioned Triple Crown tournament in Derby this year, which was my first time ever to go to it. So there's a mission accomplished. I had a great time. I don't know about you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my third time now going to Triple Crown, and the guys are great. You know, the guys who run it are absolutely fantastic, and there's a lot of familiar faces now who go to the Triple Crown tournament, and they're all just a great bunch of people. I've never had a bad experience, which is why I'm always pushing to find out when the tickets are coming out, and I'll say to the missus, I am 100% going to this event. Yeah. So
weddings, funerals, they're all off because the Triple Crown is going.
The Triple Crown's going. But, I'm glad they gave us a heads up for when it might be happening next year. So I can work around it.
Because it's not the same time, is it? They said April.
Yeah, April's good. It means I only have to wait, 8 months or something.
To get your fix.
Yeah, get my Triple Crown fix.
Well,
I'm going to have a problem though next year, though. I'm going to have a real problem though next year.
What's that?
Well, again, spoilers, but every year I've said I want to do better than the previous year.
Well, not wanting to give too much away, but it's borderline, if not entirely impossible, for you to do better than you did this year.
Yeah, it's borderline impossible.
Actually, there is a way you could do better.
Get more points.
No, you could win the best painted as well.
But that's not happening, and as long as Callum keeps turning up.
Well, you know what you've got to do? You've got to assassinate, in not literal terms, his entry into the tournament.
Yeah. You could sabotage his entry.
With paint thinner or something.
What I could do is I could buy all the tickets and then scalp them out.
Yeah, you should do that.
And then only invite people I want to come.
Yeah, do that. And then people on Twitter can go, "Oh, scalping, it's terrible," and then move on.
Move on. But it's standard Games Workshop practice now, that isn't it?
Scalping, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. It paid for my car insurance this year. It didn't before everyone starts unsubscribing. That's not what happened. Right. Anyway, so this year, it was in this year as if I'd been before. This is my first time, and I'd seen other people who I've seen in other tournaments. So when I think it's been at least 18 months since the last tournament I went to, and it was strange because you only see certain people at events like this, but it's like, oh, but I know them, but I don't. It's a strange feeling. But it was nice to see people again. I think it's just like because we've been trapped inside. It's just nice to go to a big event.
To be fair, I think it's like the second time me and you have met in person.
Yes, in fact, it is.
You know,
but
we met once, and then we spoke loads, and like been on each other's channel, but we've never.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like
that.
Though.
Time we met in person.
It doesn't feel like it. And because I'm usually quite insular and don't really like talking to people, but I didn't feel that at all this time. I know this is getting all soppy and soft, but it was a really nice social experience. Never mind the results of the games, which we'll get to at some point.
And I think that's the thing about the Triple Crown guys themselves and their usual crew, you know, the people who turn up to their events. They're just so lovely and so welcoming and, you know, friendly, and they want you to have a good time. Yeah, they want to beat you, but they want to have a good time. And that's the important thing is we're all here because we all love the hobby. We're all here because we want to support each other. And you know what? The atmosphere was fantastic. And had a good time. At one point, I wanted to organize a lynch mob against one of the guys who was working there because he called us all Age of Sigmar players.
Yeah, that was a critical error in a room full of 34 fantasy diehards who travelled hundreds of miles to get there to say, Age of Sigmar players, please put your...
What?
Age of what?
He was just like, Age of what? And he was like, sorry.
You're going to need a police escort for the rest of the day.
Oh, it was funny. It's just the fact that everyone in the room went silent.
Yeah, it's like the old West Bar when the piano stops playing.
Yeah, good times.
That's all the praise. They did a great job. Yeah, next.
Yeah, everyone was great. Yeah, onto
the crunch. I was. I don't know if I was apprehensive about going beforehand. I don't know why I've got this. I consider this one to be like the. I've got it in my head. This is the top tournament in the country for fantasy because it's the one I'd heard of.
It's not the biggest. I think Cardiff is by far bigger.
It's twice as big, Cardiff.
Yeah, but I'd say the quality of players and the quality of armies you get at this tournament, especially in the top half, I would argue with some of the strongest players you will find. Yeah, and it's not a fluffy tournament. You know,
No.
people go to Triple Crown to win. Yeah. So you know, if you go to Graham, who you've had on the channel before, he and he's been on my channel. He holds like nice fluffy tournaments, you know, and have a good time. And then like I know Andrew does, and Mark Pete does, and so forth. Cardiff's a new one, so no one knows. But even Destruction Derby before, you know, it's you go to have a good time, yeah. And to be fair, you go to Triple Crown to have a good time, but there are a certain number of people who want to win. Yeah. So it is really tough competition.
It's a different kind of good time, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I was not apprehensive, but you know, like, what am I going to do? My idea, my nightmare scenario was I would go and just get obliterated in the first game, and then the second one, and then sort of have a massive crisis of confidence and say, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an imposter. You know, that imposter syndrome. What am I doing here? Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So I think what we've agreed is this episode we'll do is day one, and then you'll have to tune into Allan's channel, which he does have. Right, that's enough of that.
It's the first time I've said it.
And that's enough. Go on, plug away.
No, I'm just saying, you know, just saying where the next half will be. Day 2 will be, yeah.
I think that's fair because I can leech off your 200 or so subscribers. And
350
sorry.
now.
All right, sorry. Yeah.
It's nowhere near your Twitter following.
You know, after I posted all the pictures from Triple Crown, I gained something like 48 followers. Well, I wasn't expecting that. And I got about 400 likes for the picture of Callum's Storm Vermin playing Warhammer. And I thought of wanted to say, this isn't my model. Stop liking it, because I feel I'm sort of piggybacking off the back of his work.
Don't like Callum's Instagram's already blowing up, so I wouldn't worry too.
Well, then I thought, I don't care because it's making my Twitter page look good. So
I took this picture.
yeah, it's my intellectual property.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not making any money on it yet. I've lost my train of thought now. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so we're doing a day each because I had a interesting day one. I don't know about yourself.
It certainly wasn't boring.
Do you want to go over just briefly what your list was, just for some context, and then we'll go from there?
Okay, so for mine, there was like 2. So in previous Triple Crowns, just to give a bit of history, I'd taken High Elves, and the first year I took a -7 High Elf list, something like that. And then the following year, I took like a -4 or a -5 one. Different lists, similar themes: Battle World Dragon, big unit, you know, Alariel, that kind of thing.
Nobody uses that.
No. But the first year, like I took like Swordmasters, for instance, and then the year after, I took White Lions. But obviously, there was different things in the rest of the army, and like different makeup of rare choices and core and whatnot. So I'd done better like each year, and I knew the quality of players there and stuff. And I was like, you know what, I really don't want to take High Elves again. Like, I really don't want to take High Elves again. And the army that I'd been having most fun with, and you know, a decent amount of success with, was my demons. And so I decided to go with demons. They're a very strong army. I've used them on the channel a lot, and it was a case of I want to go Highlander as one challenge, because I know they're good. So I was like, I want to go Highlander as one challenge, but I also want to take a positive comp list. And in that way as well, also was about taking pressure off myself, because I was like, well, in the year I came 5th, I was like, I'd got like 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. Yeah, and the loss I lost, the one I lost was only like a small one. And I was like, right, well, if I can go with a Highlander list that is also a plus comp and get a similar result, i.e., 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss, then I'll be like really happy. So to that end, I used demons, and the list was a Great Unclean one, level 4 with 1 lesser gift. He's my general. And he had Law of Nurgle, so no Law of Death. It was Law of Nurgle, because again, I wanted to, stay in the plus comps. Took Epidemius, because I've got Mono Nurgle and he's like an auto include. I took a Herald of Nurgle BSB on a Palanquin with no additional gifts, because they are rock hard as it is. They come in at like weapon skill. They come at like strength 5, toughness 5. 3 attacks, poison, and then if you stick him on a Palanquin, he gets like loads of additional attacks from the Palanquin. He gets 4 wounds. It's like really good, and they get quite expensive when you start putting lots of stuff on him. So I was like, no, he's good, just as he is with that. Core was 41 Plague Bearers with full command and the Banner of Swiftness. 4 Plague Toads to round out my core. The Tamokan book, in the comp pack, you were allowed to take them as a core unit. Special was 4 Beasts of Nurgle, 5 Furies with Mark of Nurgle, and 3 Nurglings in a single unit. And then rare was 4 Rotflies or Play Drones of Nurgle with Banner Musician, the Poison upgrade, and the Banner of Eternal Flame. And then my last unit was Soul Grinder with Mark of Nurgle, and he had like no other upgrades. He was just as he comes. And that came up to like 2495, I think, off the top of my head. And it was a +1 comp. So, yeah, nice list.
So you achieved all your aims in the list writing.
Yeah.
Before you'd even. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Highlander. It was a positive comp. Like, I had a lot of chat with my core gaming group, and which is like Steve and James, and a couple of others. And James, who took a -7 list, and we'll be talking about him later. He was like, drop the Great Unclean one, take Kairos. And I was like, he's not Nurgle. and he's like, yeah, but Kairos he gets to choose all your spells each game. He's going to add so many more dimensions to your army. Take Kairos. And I was like, no. And he's like, why? Even if you take Kairos, your list is only going to be -4, which is still really good, and it's within that bracket of competitive armies that tend to do well. And I was like, yeah, but I know he's going to make my army 3 times stronger. But 1, he's not Nurgle. And 2, it won't be a positive comp list. So yeah, that's so I could have made the army better. There was loads of ways I could make the army better, but it was about restricting myself and saying I want to go positive and I want to go Highlander. So that was why.
Fair enough. Well, we discussed what I thought I'd be taking on your channel, which I won't name, about 2 months ago or so.
It was a while
ago.
Now.
A while ago now. And I play tested that with my gaming group, and it didn't work. It didn't have enough chaff, and it didn't have enough stuff to remove chaff. So
I think I did warn you about this.
you may have, yeah, but like anything, I won't listen until I've actually experienced the disastrous side effects. More on that later, on probably in
Like
the episode.
criminals.
Yeah, well, I,
I won't listen until I've gone to jail.
learning by direct experience is clearly better than being told that's not going to work based on nothing.
Yeah.
So I dropped. Originally, I had Caradrian in as a way to get Highlander and keep the points down and to get 2 Frost Hearts in. That didn't work. He's a very expensive hero, and so I just thought I'm not bothered about the -3 comp if the list doesn't work. So I changed it, and it ended up as a -6 list. So it's the aforementioned Alariel with a Sea Helm BSB, 38 White Lions with the Banner of the Well Dragon, 22 Spearmen for +1 comp, 21 Archers, 2 units of Shadow Warriors for the +1 comp again, 2 Froststar Phoenixes in the rare, and 2 Repeater Bolt Throwers. And I tested that a bit.
Didn't you have some Illyrian Reavers as well?
Oh yeah, sorry, I had 2 Illyrian Reavers. So it was much more chaff, much more stuff to put around the board. And when I play tested it, I thought this is much better, because if you block that big unit of White Lions with anything, it's one more turn before it's actually doing anything. So that's what I took. That was -6, and I was -6 is fine. I think he's a -3, -6. There's not even that much in it. And
No,
I thought,
it's
if you're
you,
gonna take a list, you need to be confident reasonably that it can win. So there's no point taking a -3 list if I think I'm going to lose or I can't get the list to work. That was me thinking behind it, and I'm glad I changed it in the end, because I was a lot happier with a -6 list.
and that's fair enough. You know, that's completely fair. It's very similar to the one I took the year before, like the Triple Crown before.
There's a good reason why that would be similar.
There's a couple of differences. Like, I only took 1 Bolt Thrower, I believe. I took an Eagle instead for the additional chaff, and then I had 2 chariots in there, 2 Tyrannot chariots as well.
They're comp as well, aren't they? So
Yeah, well, you get +1 comp each for them, and you know. And I've spoken about this before on like the podcasts and stuff, and it's just like, if you can get +1 comp for less than 90 points, then I'll probably do it. So 70 points for one, 75 points for one chariot, 75 points for the other chariot. It's like 75 points for each unit of Shadow Warriors. So for less than 300 points, you've got yourself +4 comp. You know, it's just like, yeah, great.
The Shadow Warriors. The Shadow Warriors were great, because it's like I don't expect them to do anything, but they're cutting the minuses down a bit. So if they do anything, that's a bonus, and if they don't, well, they're just Shadow Warriors. It's only 5 of them. What do you expect them to do?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think you know, they're not shades. They're not dark elf shades.
No great weapons there. Or...
You know, but you know, for +1 comp, take them. Yeah, always would. So yeah, good army list though. You know, -6.
Yeah, I can't lie and say I came up with it myself.
Well, you did, to be fair, because you've been playing variations of that list for the last couple of years, haven't you?
Yes.
You'd finally worked your way through playtesting to that combination, and that worked for you. So yeah,
that's the list. Not to give any spoilers about what I may or may not take to future tournaments, but that's a list I'm quite comfortable with now.
And
especially,
and that's your go-to. If someone wants to play a challenging game against me, that's your go-to list, yeah?
Yeah, that would be it. Because it's not that it plays itself, but it's very clear what each unit is meant to do. But anyway, the setup of the tournament was it's 3 games on the first day and 2 games on the second day. So, do you want to start with your
Yes.
first?
So how it works with the comp scores is your first game is
Oh, yeah.
matched up against someone on an equal or closest to comp score to yourself. So if you've got -6, you will play -6, -5, or -7 army game 1. And if you're a plus list like me, you'll play another plus list. So I knew that my army was very strong for +1. I doubt it will be +1 in the future, but it will +1. So I was like, I'm going to play another +1 list.
Not if that petition to the organisers pays off. It certainly won't be +1.
So yeah, it was. So that's how it game on, and then at the end, each game is scored out of 20 tournament points. So for every 200 victory points difference between you and your opponent, you get, you get 1 point. So if you get, if there's like 2,000 points difference, it's 20-0. Yeah, I think that's the best way of.
Yes, that's right.
But so the maximum tournament points you can get in one game is 20. The lowest is 0. If it's a draw, then it's 10-all. And then it works on increments like that. So you could get 11-9, 12-8, 13-7, and so on. But if you get a 20-0, that's brilliant. But and then at the end of the tournament, you add up all your tournament points. So after 5 games, the maximum you can get is 100, and then you get maximum of 10 painting points, maximum of 15 sportsmanship points, and then you add on your comp score on top of that. So
or take it away
or take it away if you've got a negative. So if you, let's say, got 100, if you 20-0'd all your opponents and got 100 points, and you got 10 points for painting and 15 points for sportsmanship, you'd be on 125. But then if you had a -5 list, you'd be on 120. And it's the same way the other round. If you got all those points and you were on a +5 list, you'd be on 130 points at the end of the tournament. So I think the maximum you can get is 135 points. That's like the maximum you can get.
It's capped at +10, isn't it, for pluses? But there is no limit for how big the minus can be.
No, I think the biggest minus I've seen is like -21, -22, something like that.
Someone was telling us at the tournament that there was a host of the Eternity King list that was something like -20 odd.
Yeah, he's been there at previous years. He wasn't there for this one. Yeah. But yeah, so the maximum you can get is 135 points. But if you're getting, over 100 tournament points, you're doing like pretty well. You're gonna do well. So, so my first game was against Liam Howie's Ogre Kingdoms. And I've played Liam before with a variation of my demon list. I played him at Destruction Derby, and he was using vampire counts with Henrik Kemmler. I think it's Henrik Kemmler, and his sidekick. Can't remember his name. Krell. Yeah. So he was using that, and unit Graveguard, and he had like Vargulfs and things. And I was using my Nurgle army, but instead of a Great Unclean one, I had a Lord of Change, and instead of like Plague Toads, I had like a unit of Horrors, and just things like that. It was like there was differences, and and so I knew we I ended up winning that one, but he was a really nice guy. He was really gracious in defeat, and so when I saw that I'd drawn him again, I was like, you know what, this guy's, it's going to be a nice game because he's just such a nice guy. And so I was like, oh, +1 ogres, he's only going to have 1 cannon, 1 iron blaster, because it's quite hard to get 2 iron blasters in a +1 ogre list army and it be like competitive. And And I was worried about Iron Blasters because my BSB doesn't get Lookout Sir, Epidemius doesn't get Lookout Sir, and I've got like 2 very expensive monsters running around. So I was like, I really don't want to face artillery. So I get there, and he's got his Ogre army, which had 2 Iron Blasters in it. I was like, bollocks. So
Is that plan wrecked?
Yeah, so I was just like, oh shit, how did you get +1? But then when you look at the rest of the army, you can understand why. So it's like, he had a Bruiser as his general. So no Lord level general, just a Bruiser. And then he had a Bruiser BSB, 2 level 1 Fire Bellies. So no Butchers. 3 units of 6 Bulls. 3 units of 4 Lead Belchers. 2 individual Cats. A unit of 4 Mournfangs. And obviously like the 2 Iron Blasters. And so yeah, I can see how that's +1 because he's not taking like a level 3 or level 4 wizard, and he hasn't gone any of his units above 6 models in a unit. So I was like, okay, fair enough. So we played, and I was like, 2 Iron Blasters. Well, I got there, we shook hands, and he was like, oh no, it's not you and your demons again. I'm like, well, it's different this time. It's all Nurgle. He was like, "Oh yeah, great." He was really gracious. He was really kind, and we rolled for sides. And on his side of the board, where he'd already put his army, there was a building, and I was like, "Great, let's roll for sides." And I won the dice roll, and I said, "Right, I'll have your side." So I went
you're
over...
that guy.
Yeah, well, I actually said those words. I said, "Sorry to be that person, but I want to switch sides with you." So we switched sides. And he knew as soon as I said I wanted to switch sides what I was going to do. So as soon as we switched sides, we deployed. I put Epidemius behind the building just so he couldn't get sniped by cannons. I was like, yeah, you're going to sit there all game, And it sounds underhanded, but hey, I'd be stupid to put Epidemius up front where he can get sniped by cannons because he doesn't get Lookout. So it'd be moronic to put him there.
It's a tournament.
Yeah, we're there to win. Yeah, so I was like, he's sitting behind this building. Come get him, and he couldn't get to him. Like turn 1, he was a bit unlucky. He fired my Great Unclean One was hiding behind my Soul Grinder, and like turn 1, he shot at the Soul Grinder with his first cannon, hit, wounded, and I passed my ward save, and then the second one like hit and then failed to wound. So I was just like, oh great, this is all right. My turn 1, I just like charged my Soul Grinder like 16 inches directly at his cannons, which he'd moved forward. My center with my big Nurgle block moved forward. My Rot Flies came up the flank. And I was like feeling pretty confident. I didn't get any like spells off or anything, but I was feeling quite confident. And in his turn, I think he had the ogre inside him got to him because instead of like firing his cannons again, he decided to charge both his Iron Blasters into my Soul Grinder, and I was like, okay, at least you're not shooting at me. So at least I've got you. I know where you're gonna be. And his like 2 units of balls with his characters in charged my big block of Nurgle. And he also had another charge where his Mournfangs charged my Rot Flies. And so I'm feeling like, damn, I've got no counters yet on Epidemius, and I'm in combat across the board. I'm really weak at this moment. Well, not really weak. I'm weaker than I could be. And, we rolled up the Mournfangs first, and they wiped out the whole unit of Rotflies. And I was like, what? What is that? That's awful. So they turned around to like get into the flank of my my big block. But my big block lost combat against his 2 units that charged with his characters in. But I held because there's like 41 demons in there, so I wasn't too fussed. But and obviously I'd like ticked up a load of wounds as well from that combat. And then the the Soul Grinder versus the two things. So the two things charged in. I don't think he realised I was toughness 7, on that big monstrosity, and he had like a 4 up armor save, and and all this stuff. So he come in and he just did no wounds to it, and I went right. Take an initiative test on one of them, failed. So that's 4 automatic hits. That's like like 4 wounds. Always like 3 wounds or something. So it had like 1 wound left or whatever. And I was like, well, he's going nowhere now because you haven't got your impact hits anymore. And then in the next turn, I was like +1 toughness, so he's now on like 6s to hit. It was just, it just went downhill after that because after that, I moved my Beast of Nurgle to like protect the flank of my big block. My general charged into my Great Unclean One charged into the combat in the middle. And yeah, needless to say, I broke his center. And then it was just about going round and the ogres are scattered for the hills, in like all directions, and it was just about trying to pick up as many points as possible because the one problem with my army, once the rot flies are dead, it's very slow. So and you only get points for units that are destroyed or fled the battlefield. You don't get the points for the ones that are just fleeing. So I was like trying to chase down as much as possible. But we only got 4 turns each that game. So if there'd been 2 more turns, I think I would have got all the points. But yeah, so that game ended 17-3 in the end to me. So a big win to start the tournament off. And Liam, you very gracious opponent, and it was a really nice looking ogre army as well. He'd done a lot of conversions on his balls, and he done conversions for his cannons as well. So yeah, really nice ogre army. And Liam, I know you do listen to the podcast, thanks very much for the game, and I look forward to seeing you at the next tournament.
Yeah, he's a fan of the show, so there's a shout out for him. It made me feel like a celebrity when's the next episode coming out? Like, Jesus, people actually listen to this.
Yeah.
Real other people they actually listen to this. So even though it sort of went a bit wrong initially when you committed all across the board, it's just the attrition effect just made you win it on combat.
Yeah, it's just the attrition and starting racking up the wounds, and he had no way of getting to Epidemius. So Epidemius is just sat in the corner with his abacus, just like ticking up. And I think the only things I lost were, I'm just looking at the score sheet here. Like, he got 465 points. 270 of that is like from the rot fly, so he wiped out in 1 round of combat. And then he got like 120 for like the Nurglings. He killed like the Nurglings, which I was really surprised about, but he got them. And then he got the Furies as well, I think. So he scrabbled together some points, but yeah, as I said, it's a 2,500 point tournament, and I was like trying to hunt down as much as possible, and I'd got his general and I'd got his BSB. But I still was only able to get like 2,000 VPs off him.
It's just because I remember you saying at the time, like, I couldn't, because they'd gone either side, not the center.
Yeah, I broke the center, and they went either direction after that. I was like, fuck, I can't catch you.
That sounds like a good start.
Yeah, it was a confident start. I was like, I was confident against ogres anyway because they don't have like very good armor saves, and they're weapon skill 3, so they're on 5s to hit plague bearers. So like, okay, that'll do. So it's a really bad matchup for ogres, and I think Liam, he did his best in the scenario. Like, I felt bad for both his fire bellies because they both miscast and both went down to level 0s.
Because why wouldn't they? That's
It's like you've got like 2 level 1 fire bellies, and they're both level zeros, like the thing. It's just like, and demons of chaos, when they roll for their power dice, they roll on the chart. Yeah, I got like a brand new unit of plague bearers that I decided to put behind his lines. Yeah, off that. So it wasn't good for him. It wasn't good for him.
Well, my first matchup was against High Elves. And when I drew it, I thought, oh, it's a mirror match. I didn't really want to play High Elves, but once it was Mark Pete I was playing, and once I was on the board, I was like, actually, this could be a really interesting game, because all your natural, well, the White Lions, the penalty there is going to be that they're going to get rerolls against them, and the always strikes first benefit of every other unit is just going to be nullified. So I've played it before where when you take that away from the High Elves, they really start to struggle because that's their really big thing, the rerolling, and they're usually higher weapon skill. So that's out of the way. So he had, from memory, I think he had a block of Phoenix Guard. I think maybe 15 or 20 of them. He had a horde of Lothern Sea Guard. And in there he had a High Mage, BSB, and his general was Alithanar. And he had two Frostheart Phoenixes, which is similar to what I had. So it was, and then he had 2 units of Reavers, I think, and an Eagle. That was his, or 1 unit of Reavers and an Eagle. That was his chaff. So
other than the Phoenixes, it's quite a different army.
Yeah,
right?
it's not similar at all, really. So that was like, oh, it is. This is going to be slightly different because a straight up mirror match would be interesting, but maybe frustrating. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I thought, having spoken to people before when the draw was announced, that this is all going to hinge on who gets what when they're rolling for magic, because we both know what we're going to do, really. So when I rolled the 4 dice for Lariel spells and I saw that 5 for Arcane and Forging, I thought, right, we're away here. That's
we're away.
Yeah, that's a good start. He also rolled Arcane and Forging, so it's like, right. But I thought it's more important that I get it, because if he snaps the Banner of the World Dragon, I don't think he had any magic attacks. Oh, the Phoenixes would have been. So it's not really that bad. Whereas Ilariel giving the unit magic attacks, if he kept the Banner of the World Dragon on his big unit, that would be a real problem. All them 2-up saves. So we deployed more or less in a line against each other. There was a sort of a skirmish on the right-hand side between my Reavers and some Shadow Warriors trying to kill his Reavers, which the Shadow Warriors apparently, I mean, they're supposed to be legendary shots. Not on that day. They couldn't kill immediately. I think the Reavers shot my Reavers, who then, as I'm terrible at rolling leadership tests, fled turn 1. So they rallied turn 2 and came back. We're like, what are you doing? Leadership 8 shouldn't be too hard to roll, but no, away. So they're out of the game for about 3 turns before I can get them back. And that was, on that side, it was just a dance of getting the Reavers out of the arc of the other ones and then moving around and shooting them with the Shadow Warriors. And it took all game to get rid of them Reavers. So that was a bust. But so yeah, I deployed the Phoenixes sort of behind my White Lions and the Spearmen. And my plan was just march up as quickly as you can, try to destroy the Banner of the World Dragon, and go into the points were in the Sea Guard unit, because there was three characters in there. And fortunately, just everything seemed to work. Because I was going so aggressively forward, he sort of started moving back. So I sort of had him encircled with what I had and the Phoenixes and the unit of White Lions. I miscast to cast Arcane Forging on the BSB. Didn't wound him, but I wasn't bothered about that. Broke the Banner of the World Dragon in, I think, turn 2. So then I thought, well, that's 2 things that I really needed to happen have actually happened. So this has gone quite well.
Ticking off the objectives as you go.
Yeah, just tick them off. Like I rolled Arcane Forging, that was really important. Miscast, you can't stop it, so that couldn't have gone any better. Alariel didn't do the standard thing of like rolling a 2 and going off the Realm of Chaos. She rolled I think it was every wizard takes a strength that's 6 hit. She's not bothered about that because Banner of the World Dragon protected her. There was the spearmen were just there to sort of block the Phoenix Guard or stop them doing anything or stop them interfering until I was ready. So they were just expendable really for +1 comp, and they're only, I think they're less than 200 points for 22 of them, or maybe a bit over. So I wasn't really bothered about what happened to them. They got in combat. I think they got in combat with the Phoenix Guard and lost and ran and rallied, but they weren't particularly relevant. Shooting, pathetic. My bolt thrower and my 21 archers failed to kill this eagle. I don't know what it was made of, steel or something. I charged the eagle with my other set of reavers, and the eagle won because and as standard, they broke, so they're off. But the main fight, that wasn't really relevant. The main fight, I managed to get into combat with the White Lions straight into the big block of Sea Guard, and it went as you would expect. So they're weapon skill 5 and the Sea Guard are weapon skill 4. So hitting on 3s, killing on 2s, no armor save. So they broke. I cut them down, and I overran into the Frostart Phoenix behind them. So it's like, this has gone pretty much as well as I could hope. So that was dead the next turn. The Phoenix Guard, I can't remember if I got the Phoenix Guard completely. Because I think I put the Phoenix into them. I'm trying to remember now. Wait a minute. Let me have a look at my photographic evidence of this. Yeah, so the overrun and the other Frostart Phoenix, I thought, well, I don't have to worry about that anymore because they'll get it the next turn. Spearman sort of had a face-off with the Phoenix Guard. Again, shooting archers didn't do anything. The Spearmen were just sort of blocking the Shadow Warriors sort of blocked the Phoenix Guard from going into the Spearmen. So that was a bit gamey, but I thought, well, it's a tournament. That's going to be my excuse for everything, really. I think we got to 5 turns before it was called it, but we called it slightly early because it was pretty much a foregone conclusion. So I got an 18-2 from that.
Well, that's a pretty good start.
Yeah, and I got 2,342 victory points according to this chart. But that's including I got the general, I got the BSB, I got magic superiority from turn 3 or so. So it went pretty much as well as I could expect. And I don't know whether it was because this list I find in most cases stand by for a case where this doesn't work. The more aggressive you are, the better it seems to work. Like just get them in combat as soon as possible. Get them. Even the psychological effect of running this big unit. It's not charged, but it's next turn it's going to charge. And it just sort of, to me, it just seemed like I was encircling his army, and you couldn't break out of it because there's nothing. The army was getting depleted. So tactically, I felt like went really well.
Mark Pete's no slouch. He plays High Elves. I think he only plays High Elves. He might not, but I've only ever seen him play High Elves at tournaments. So he knows how to play him. He obviously knows how to play against them. And, he came, 12th, 15th in the tournament. So, top half, so he's not, he's no slouch, to
No,
play.
I mean, it was a good match, but like I was saying, well, he was saying to me, like, it all depended, because he tried to break Banner of the World Dragon. First, he picked my BSB to target with Arcane and Forging.
You got to work out the comp in your head.
Yeah, and so some viewers may not know it's not on the battle standard bearer. So he did a wound on him, and it's well, he hasn't got the Banner of the World Dragon.
Did he break your armor then?
Um,
Your armor of
yeah,
destiny.
so I think it's the Talisman of Preservation, the Enchanted Shield, which he never used. So that snapped, but it didn't really matter because Alariel's given him a ward save anyway.
Yeah.
And then the next turn, Alariel just healed him anyway because she's nice like that. So, and then the next time he miscast Arcane and Forging on my BSB, did the wound, and they rolled a 1 to snap it. So like, that's so unlucky. Like, what are the odds of that? It just went. The magic rolls just went my way. But it was I enjoyed it. Very good game. Easily could have gone the other way.
Well, I was just looking at this. So, at this chart. Now, did you play Luke in game 2?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So Luke and I were on the same tournament points. So Luke Blackcell, he's playing a wonderful Warriors of Chaos army, and he came
from the 80s.
Yeah, and he came 4th overall. And it's not your usual Warriors of Chaos army as well. It's got Galrook, as the army, as the army general. So it's very different. And there's no big blocks or anything like that. It is very mobile, very lots of MSU really. And he got 17 tournament points from his first game. And I was like, all right, how come he played Mark? And how come I didn't play Luke, and so forth. But now I was looking through the scores, and it does work out because you were the only person with 18 points. There was 4 20-0s in game 1, so they all played each other. And then you're the only. There was no 19 ones. You were the only person on 18, and there was 2 people on 17, me and Luke. But Luke had 5 more victory points than me. So if I'd got 6 more victory points in that last game, I would have played you game 2.
What an alternate reality that could have been.
This is me trying to run down things at the end of the game, yeah. But if I'd got 5 more victory points or 6 more victory points, me and you would have played each other game 2.
Wow. What a close run thing.
So bullet dodged for me in my demons against the Banner of the World Dragon.
Not necessarily true. Spoilers.
Spoilers, but not necessarily true. But no, so yeah, game 2. I could have been playing Luke. I could have been playing Mark. If the fates had gone another way, but I ended up playing Callum Hyam and his gorgeous Skaven army, who like you said is you've got all the fans from.
Yeah, and I'm not apologising for that, and I'm not paying any royalties.
No, yeah. So I saw Skaven as the draw, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's good for Nurgle, counting wounds. But Skaven are very good at taking out large single targets, and I got several of them. So there was a bit of worry. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't really worried that the block of plague bearers would struggle. I wasn't worried for them at all. I wasn't worried for my BSB because I was like, oh, there's Epidemius, there's a Great Unclean One, there's a Soul Grinder. He's low down on the priority of things that he's going to try and snipe. And I wasn't worried for like the Beasts of Nurgle either because I was like, they're just going to do great. So, but when I saw it was Callum, I was like, shit. Like Callum, not only is he an amazing painter, he's also one of I'd put him in the top tier of players I've ever played against. He is very clever, yeah, and very tricksy. He has always got some other tactic or some other plan or something up his sleeve, and you have to be on your A game if you're gonna be him. And it was funny because last Triple Crown, me and him actually drew each other in game 2 as well, and so it was it was a bit of a rematch. Game 2, Triple Crown, both got good wins in game 1, and yeah, so it was like the rematch. The first time round, I was playing High Elves and he was playing Dwarves.
Appropriate. I like that.
Yeah, I wore the beard. Like I remembered it vividly because this tournament I was saying I was scared of cannons, right? Well, in that last tournament we played, turn 1, cannon shoots Phoenix, dead. Turn 2, same cannon shoots other Phoenix, dead. So in the first 2 turns of our game 2 years ago, both my Phoenixes were dead turn 2. It went downhill very fast, but the White Lion unit did its job. I think I only had like 2 White Lions and a Lariel left in the unit, at the end of the game. And I won 11-9. That's how close it was. Yeah. But he like outplayed me, in that first time we played. So yeah, I was just able to hold on with just an arguably a lot stronger army. So it was time for the rematch, and he was playing Skaven. It was a +5 Skaven list, so I was +1 with my Nurgle, he was +5, so there's like 4 comp points difference. And he was using a Warlord on Bonebreaker, a Grey Seer, a Plague Priest, who was also a wizard, an Engineer with a Doom Rocket, 40-ish slaves. He had about 40 clan rats with a poison wind mortar, like 30-ish giant rats. There was like 45 storm vermin with a doom flayer. He had like 8 gutter runners with slings and poison, 5 Jezzails, a cannon, a catapult, an hell pit abomination, and a doom wheel. So, like, when I looked at the army, I was like, right, the things I'm afraid of are the Grey Seer, the cannon, and the doom wheel. But the rest of it, I should be okay, yeah? But those things I am, like, really scared of. And, again, I stuck Epidemius behind a building. Because I was like, I need wounds to win this game. And he's got a cannon. So I need to put him where that cannon can't shoot him. So he's going to sit behind this building. Again, it's a tournament. I don't want my 200
It's my excuse.
Yeah, I don't want my 200-point character dying. Yeah. And so it was my second game against artillery. In the corner he went. And he got turn 1 and he shot his cannon at my Soul Grinder, and he did 5 wounds to it. And I was like, ah! So the Soul Grinder's like 1 wound left, and he like fired his Jezzails at it and like did no damage. And I was just like, right, great. So Soul Grinder's 1 wound left. If he goes forward, he's gonna die, right? So what I did was I actually, because he was on my left flank and Epidemius was on like my far right flank behind this building, I actually moved my army up to try and get into combat as quickly as possible. And my Soul Grinder actually turned 90 degrees to the right and marched towards Epidemius. Because I was like, you're not going into the enemy. I want to keep you alive. But I'm going to move you over towards Epidemius because there's like a doom wheel coming down my left flank. So I was like,
And quite crowded behind these buildings then for your lists.
Well, no, there was only like one little building, but yeah, he was over there. My Soul Grinder was on the opposite side of the board, but was trudging 16 inches a turn to try and get as far away from the enemy as possible because Callum had like bunkered behind. in the opposite corner to where Epidemius was. Yeah, so my whole army was bum rushing that corner, and my soul grinder was running the opposite way to say, "Leave me alone, don't shoot me." And believe it or not, soul grinder lasted until the end. He lived. The soul grinder lived. I was so happy. So yeah, he did well. He lived through the game. And what happened was the A-bomb got a really long charge off against the Beasts of Nurgle, and he was like, "Oh, I'll hold them up." And I was like, "Okay." Wasn't too worried. And my Great Unclean One, he tried to assassinate with like a combination of Jezzails, a cannon, and the poison from the gutter runners. He wasn't able to. The Great Unclean One charged the gutter runners, and he decided to stand and shoot, but he failed his. No, what did he do? He might have fled. I can't remember, but anyway, like the unit fled, and my Great Unclean One caught them and just went ridiculously far. He went like something like 15, 16 inches straight towards the enemy on his own. I was like, "Fuck, he's dead." The Doom Wheel came round, went straight into the flank of the Great Unclean One. I was just like, "Oh no, this is gonna hurt." But the Doom Wheel didn't do anything. I think he rolled like a 2 or a 4 for his strength, so he was on like 6s to hurt him. He did no damage. Great Unclean One hit it. Did a load of damage. The Doom Wheel ran away. I didn't catch it at the end of the game, so at the end of the game it was alive and on 1 wound, and it killed the Nurglings, I think. But so I didn't get the points for that. But the Great Unclean One, he went into the rest of his army on his own, like Rambo. Got like flank charged with the Storm Vermin, like front charge with the slaves, and it was gonna be bad, but because I'm like stomping away and like just hitting his stuff, and he's got like a high leadership, he just hung around. So I think he got down to like 2 wounds or something, and he hung around, but he left this big unit of Storm Vermin with their flank open. The flank was exposed. My big unit went into its flank. And I got the level 6 spell Plague Wind off with my Great Unclean One, which went through his unit of slaves and his Storm Vermin and killed like 30 models, like 30 to 40 models. Because it's like toughness tests. If you fail, take a wound with no armor save. It's just like, and because he was in combat and it's a vortex, I just went, right, I'm going to put it here and I'm going to go in this big long line. And it just went right through his Storm Vermin unit and just killed like half of them.
It's toughness 3, aren't they? Storm Vermin.
Toughness 3, yeah. So it's like 50. If I hit your whole unit, then 50% of it's going to die, yeah? So, and then that racks up wounds, got me a few Plague Bearers back. But yeah, I think by that point, the A-bomb versus the Beast of Nurgle, I was ridiculously lucky and I rolled loads of poison. I think I did something like 11 wounds to the Great Unclean, no, to the A-bomb through a combination of poison and normal attacks. And he died. He just died on the spot. And so the Beast of Nurgle were like, great, we're free to just charge his gun line. Plague drones charging his gun line. The everything. He just, because he'd like bunkered in his corner, and my Great Unclean One had like wrapped up his big blocks. My like Beasts of Nurgle and my Rotflies and stuff were just able to get in behind him with impunity. So he did one thing that's really scared me, and I was shitting bricks for, which was, and it was very risky play. It was like a really risky play, and he skitter-leaped his Gracier. Oh, he went, I'm going to cast Skitter Leap. And I was like thinking to myself, what are you going to do? Like, I don't think you've got Brass Orb, Plague Priest, what's he going to do? It's not an awful lot. I did not expect him to Skitter Leap his Gracier. So he Skitter Leaped his Gracier right next to Epidemius, but where Epidemius couldn't see him. And I was like, okay. And then he went, Crack's Call. And what Crack's Call does, for those of you who don't know, is you draw a line, and then every enemy model hit by the line, they take an initiative test. And if they fail, they die. Right? There's no saves or anything. If they fail, they die. And he got it off. And I was like, no! So luckily for me, Epidemius is initiative 4, so I had like a 33% chance of dying, and I passed my initiative test. But there was a good few moments where I was like, fudge, you know? And because he was bunkered in the other corner, my whole army was like chasing him over there. I was like, nothing really to protect Epidemius. Apart from this one wounded soul grinder who early on in the game had decided to make his way across the board. And so, like, I brung my Furies back round, you know, because of the 20-inch movement, and I had Epidemius and I had the soul grinder, and I managed to, like, corner the Gracier in the corner of the board. And I went, right, soul grinder's going to charge you, and he, like, fled. And then I was like, Epidemius is going to charge you, flee. Right, the Furies are going to charge you, flee, and then he like fled off the board. So it was like, it was really risky, and he could have won the game. Not maybe. To be honest, actually, it was really risky. I think I would have won anyway because of what happened with the Great Unclean One and getting that like vortex off and stuff. But I felt kind of bad for Callum because none of the dice went his way in that game. You know, the Doom Wheel bouncing off the general, him firing a load of stuff into the Soul Grinder over a couple of turns and it not dying, his Doom Rocket missed, me passing my initiative test on Epidemius, the A-bomb dying in one round of combat. It just didn't go well, yeah. So, you know, after all said and done, it was what was it? I got 2,550 points, and he got 120, which I think was for the Nurglings that his one wound Doom Wheel got. So it was a solid 20-0 win, that one.
Comprehensive victory there.
Yeah, I felt really bad for him because, as I said, nothing went right for him, and you know that skit leap into Crack's Call was a big gamble. But if his Gracie had stayed where he was going to get chewed up by my that. So it was going to be tough. And the other thing as well, which kind of makes me feel a bit cocky, is he's been to Triple Crown 3 times now. I'm the only person ever to beat him at Triple Crown. So
you're just putting another award, pin another medal.
Another pin, another pin on my lapel.
There is no certificate for that, though.
No, there should be. I might print one off for myself. And
that is your right now, of course.
But no, he was. He's a really good player, and his army was to die for. It is gorgeous. And he went on to win Best Painted. And he came third. So so from getting 20-0 in game 1, game 2, he's obviously doing something right, yeah, to come third.
Come back from anything, unless you've been 20-0 3 in a row.
But yeah, he's a great guy. He's prolific on the group, so have a chat with him. Gorgeous painter. He could obviously teach us all so much, and he's just a really, really, really good player. So hopefully, if one day I run a tournament, I'd like to see him there.
Is that a hint into the future plans? Or?
Yeah, like a few people said to me and have said to me before, like, would you run a tournament? Would you be willing to run one? And I was like, yeah, I'd be willing to run one, but
is that just so you can't play?
Maybe, but I think I've run tournaments in the past when I worked for Games Workshop, but I'd like to run one again, but I'd like to know that I want to scout out a few different venues first and get to know the people who run the venues, and make sure that we're a good fit and we're able to work together. And I obviously want to pick somewhere that's got good like travel links and stuff like that. So
Go for the cheapest. What could go wrong?
well, it's but yeah, I think I'd like to run one, and obviously that will take off all the pressure of playing. So lovely.
Oh yeah, you don't have to repeat your performance. Although because you're running it, you can just award yourself as many points as you like.
Yeah, pretty much. My mate James was just like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to play at one of your tournaments." I'm like, "James, you wouldn't be playing." He was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Mate, you're part of the Toy Soldier Tales team. You'd be helping me run it. I can't be there for every game." And he was like, "Oh bollocks."
So he's being conscripted against his will.
Oh, he's part of the team. He'd have to help go around and do like rules queries and just generally chatting to people and making sure everyone's all right. So
he claims, I don't know how true this is, that you don't put up the videos where he's beating you. Would you like to comment on this?
Oh no, so he has beaten me recently. So I only put painted armies on the channel. I only like playing with painted armies. And he came round and we played a game which was his goblin army versus my high elves. And I think we both took like a +6, +7 list or something. And it was one of the games on the channel. It was like a really good, fun game. But then afterwards we were like, oh, shall we just play a game off camera? Because it takes like a long time to record them. Especially the way I do it as well, because I want to make the editing process easier, which means you extend the production time up front. And so we played a game, and I was like, you know what, I'll use my ogres. It's like not on camera. I've like never used them before. I'll use ogres, and then he killed them in like 2 turns. He just went. He was like rock lobber that dead. Fanatics into that dead, Doom Diver into that dead, and like all this stuff, and then like poisoned arrow shots into that dead, and then that's the game. Well played. I've won. And I was like, all right, great.
And no one will ever know.
And I was like, that's a good. Like my missus was watching. She was pissing herself laughing because I'll be honest, I was a bit irate because I was like, it's the first time I've ever used this army. I want to see how it does. And it just got shot off the board before like any combats were had. I was just like, we had like 1 round of combat. And like that was it. And it was just like, fair enough. You beat me. You solidly beat me. Great. Wasn't on camera though.
Doesn't count. There's no proof.
Oh well, there's evidence. I've told everyone I lost. I lost to him. So, but yeah, fair enough to him. He won. But I'm like, James is like a really good player. Like he is one of the best players I know. His problem is that he's limited himself to orcs and goblins and Bretonians. Right, which aren't like the top tiered lists. They're army books. They're like orcs and goblins and Brets. The tough armies to do really well against even against the toughest armies. But he knows orcs and goblins like the back of his hand. He has played so many different variations of orcs and goblins. It's unbelievable. But whenever we practice for a tournament or anything, he'd be like, I want to play Alario and the White Lions. Can you use that against me? Can you use your 2 Phoenixes? Can you use your demons? Or, can you use Warriors of Chaos but with a Demon Prince? Like all this stuff. So he always wants to practice against the toughest things because then he knows how good his army's doing. So, and I don't go easy on him. We've got this thing in our group where Jane, I think motto of our group is James must lose. Yeah. So, but yeah, he's a really tough player. Really, So, yeah, he just doesn't have a lot of luck because of what he plays with.
Animosity. One.
Well, he's built his army where he only has to take one animosity test a turn. Well, he takes two, but one of the units has got a Black Orc War Boss in. So if he fails his animosity, he causes D6 5 hits on the unit. But the unit's got like 50 models in, so he don't care. The other unit's like a unit of spiders. So he's built his army around the fact that he's made it like so reliable, and it's like I only have to take two animosity tests a turn, and one of them doesn't really matter. So yeah, he knows his stuff.
But then, what is it? Goblin bolt throwers. One.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, that was my game one and in game two. So who did you have in game two?
Game 2 was against the aforementioned Luke and his Warriors of Chaos, which are fantastically painted. I was more dazzled by the paint scheme in 80s colours. And I'm not saying that's why I lost the game, but it may have been 80% of why I lost the game. That's not true. So he didn't, because I've only played Warriors of Chaos a few times, and it's normally what I'm used to is like a block of warriors and a few Marauder horsemen or something like that. And this was nothing like that. This was it was a bit sort of similar to what I played Steve at Sheffield, because he had a block of trolls with Throg in it. I thought, I know what he does now. Having suffered at his hands previously, but I think he had a unit or two of Marauder horsemen. He had two of the bigger chariots, so the Gore Beast chariots.
I think he had one normal chariot and one Gore Beast chariot.
He had a Chimera, which I don't like. He had
they're amazing.
He had a unit of dogs. He had a Lord on a disc. Sorry, a BSB on a disc, and Galra, the Dragon of Chaos.
With the breath of cheese.
Get onto that.
And the other thing as well is he had a Chaos spined beast.
Oh yes, that was brilliant. That was like he's modelled it with like a giant spider.
Yeah.
And that was from the Monstrous Arcanum, I think.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I'd never encountered anything like that before. So like, as cost me later on in the game. So standard deployment is, this was Capture the Hill, wasn't it? It was like
it was Capture the Hill,
yeah. So lined up as standard. He went first. He moved his trolls right over onto the hill into sort of charge range of my White Lions and Spearmen. I thought, oh, this is going. This is a good start. I know what I'm doing next turn. He had a unit of what they're called, the big juggernauts.
Yeah, Skull Crushers.
Yes, he had them on right on the. What was it? My right flank. So I'd had me bolt thrower behind a lake there for some sort of protection, and my reavers, and then moving along to from right to left, I had the archers and the spearmen next to the white lions, and then on the other side some more reavers and the bolt thrower. So it's sort of symmetrical. So he moved up. He had Galrauk had the Law of Tzeentch, which normally is trash, but apparently in this game decided to really switch itself on. So
can it have any other laws of magic, or is it just Tzeentch? Like metal, I assume would be.
I think he could take metal, but he took Tzeentch, which is a funny attribute. Is if you take a toughness test after you've taken any damage, and if you pass,
you get regen.
Which I didn't realize stacks as well. So that's permanent. So each time you recast it, you can increase your regen. If you fail, you take some more wounds, but you're sort of buffing your opponent.
It's terrible. It's such a terrible rule.
Yeah.
And like all your Tzeentch flaming spells
not flaming.
Don't count as flaming.
No, not flammable. Magic.
It's just the worst, one of the worst written rules. Terrible. Anyway, keep going.
But still didn't stop it being really effective against my army, which was bizarre. So anyway, so he moves up. There's a few. I don't think anything really happened on turn one. My turn one. I think. Well, I know what Throg does. He is going to leave the unit to one side and do his horrible breath on the block of white lions or something like that's going to happen. So I need to kill them straight away. I knew my spearmen had Banner of Eternal Flame on. So my initial thing was to charge the trolls with the white lions and the spearmen. Well, the white lions had something like I had to roll a 5 or a 6 or something to get in. The spearmen had to roll a 9, so I thought, well, it doesn't matter because if the white lions get in, they'll hold at least a turn, and then the spearmen can charge next turn, and they can strip the regen off, and everything will work out fine. What actually happened was the spearmen rolled a 9 for their charge, got straight in, and the white lions rolled a double 1 and didn't get in, which then caused. So the spearmen, because of the way the rules work, have to maximize in front of the trolls, which means the white lions now can't charge in because there's no room for them in the next turn. And the trolls are going to mash the spearmen into oblivion because the strength 3, toughness 3, light armor and shield. That's not going to happen. So yeah, as predictable, the spearmen get chewed up by the trolls. In the meantime, the chariot and the chaos spider beast thing, they charge the flank of my white lion block, and I use naval discipline for the first time ever since playing High Elves for 4.5 years. I actually got to use naval discipline, which is what the sea helm lets you do. I had to read the rule because I'd never used it and had to be sure what it means. It actually means when you complete charges, you take a leadership test, and if you pass it, you can combat reform. So I thought, this is great. They're going to charge in. I will combat reform. I'll cut through them, no problem, because it's white lions. And then I'll reform the next phase, and at the end of the combat, and then I'll be able to go into the trolls or whatever. There's juggernauts, everything. That's not what ended up happening. They did reform. However, they whiffed completely on their attacks. The chariot and the spine beast thing was still there after the first round of combat. Like, this hasn't gone as I expected. On the other side, though, because his Chimera sort of moved up to the left of my White Lions, and so did his Marauder Horseman. And somehow, I don't know, it was a bolt thrower or the archers or something like that, was able to kill off the unit of Marauder Horsemen, which fortunately were right next to the Chimera, so it panicked, which gave me another turn to not be covered by its breath weapon attack.
Oh, really?
So that was handy, and I thought, yeah, that's all right. Subsequent to that, I thought, well, for some combat res, to help out, the Phoenix can charge into the Spine Beast thing, so get a flank. Hopefully, it'll break next turn, and we can get on with it. Apparently, it's got some sort of rule where before anything happens, if you charge into it, you take a number of hits, and it died. So it didn't get to do anything, and that was a bit devastating. So yeah, Eagle suicided it. Sorry, the Phoenix suicided itself on the Spine Beast. Eventually, the White Lions were able to kill that off on the chariot. By this time, the Galrock and the Chimera have, it's coming. Like, I've been here before. I can't stop it. You plunk one at one end of one flank of the White Lions, and you put the other one at the other, and you just flamer them both. But he's got the toughness test or die, and I was like, really? There's no more saves, is there not? No. So the White Lions were thinned out to about one rank of them, or 1.5 ranks. It's like, right. So they are now totally ineffective. They're not going to be doing anything. And it's just like your army is just getting depleted, and there's not you've got no combat power to come back at it. And he still had the trolls. He'd only lost like some marauders. There's the monster thing and a chariot. The what they're called, not the juggernauts. What's the unit called?
Skull Crushers.
Skull Crushers charged into the archers. They held up for one turn, then collapsed. Went into the bolt thrower. That obviously can't survive that. They ran off the board and came back on, so they were pretty much done, but they removed the entire right flank of the army. So in a final battle where was it the trolls came back in or whatever, the White Lions ended up fighting the trolls, I think. Every White Lion was killed, but not Alariel.
No,
so
they stood on her own.
So Alariel fled, and she managed to roll a 10. And this is where, just trusting to Assyrian to bring you some luck at this point. And she wasn't caught. So it's like, there's 350 points that I've got back because it's the end of the game and she's not going to flee off the board.
Yeah, like 100 points for the general as well.
Yeah,
like
so that was a save. That saved there. So, that was a weird game because at the start I thought I know what I need to do to win here, and then that didn't happen. And then I thought, well, I can recover here, but no, he held up the White Lion unit very well. Meanwhile, destroying all the other stuff. The Phoenix died running in. The other Phoenix, I don't know if it survived or not. It must have, because at the end it was a 15-5.
Well, he only got 1777 points.
Yeah, right. So that would be right if there's a Phoenix left. Alariel, I think a unit or 2 units of Shadow Warriors and a Reavers. But the heart of the army was just gone. So by turn 4-5, it's like, well, there's nothing really I can do here to pull this back. It's pure point preservation, which I couldn't do because he then charged the White Lions, what was left of them. So it was one of those ones where we're down to like the standard bearer and the champion, and then there's just the standard bearer, but they're stubborn, so the unit's stubborn, so they're staying. But no, they need to go because Alariel's going to die if she stays in combat. She's not going to heroic killing blow everything one after the other, is she? And I think that's what saved me from 20-0.
How many HKBs did she get over the tournament?
I don't think she got any.
Wow! So leading up to the tournament, she got loads, but in the tournament,
every game prior in the practices, she'd killed something with heroic killing blow, but apparently she was on an off day this time. But as a game, I really enjoyed it. It's not an army I'd seen before. Although it did have the big troll block in the middle, so like, well, that's what you got to aim for. I didn't really know what all the rest of it, because I haven't played Warriors of Chaos too much. So Juggernauts, I sort of know what they are ish, but I know to avoid them really. But he had all this, the Lord on the BSB on the disc, and like you think, well, I know what that's going to be, the unkillable Lord, the unkillable Siege, which it wasn't. So
you totally bluffed you.
Yeah, so that's great play. That's you've essentially got the effect of the unkillable Zinch hero for none of the cost. So people don't, I didn't target it because what's the point of trying to target that? A re-rollable ward save? No. And I've never seen Galrauch before. I've seen a Chimera before, and I have a problem with leadership tests, and I have a problem with wounding things that have got regen. That's for some reason I can't roll anything for that. If you've got regen and I hit it, you're going to make that regen save. I can't wound things with regen. Ward saves, not so bad. I don't know what it is about regen. But the magic, Zinch magic for some reason was really effective. I was just, when you sort of feel like everything you're trying, you're getting hard countered, and my options are getting less and less, and my army's running out, and right, I'm finished essentially. But I really enjoyed the game. Really, really nice army. Really, really nice player. And it wasn't like nobody here was unpleasant, but it wasn't like I didn't feel like gloating that, oh yeah, this is going well, I'm destroying, that it was all very pleasant, even though it wasn't really.
Yeah, well, Luke's a really nice guy.
Yeah,
honestly,
really nice.
He's been there a few times to Triple Crown, and I spoke to him a few times, and he's just a lovely person, and his army's fantastic. So
But I did.
Even when you lose, it's a pleasure to play against. Yeah,
pleasure is a bit strong. Didn't mind. Didn't mind. But playing that game was quite weird because I'd only ever really thought about maybe mid-table or lower. Previous tournaments, mid-table was about as much as I've done. Lower mid, and then because I was on table, I think it was 15, which is the second last table apparently, or 16 according to this. And I'd gone from that to table 1, 2, 3. I think it was table 4. So I was thinking, Jesus, what am I doing up here? There's the Lords up there, because it was tiered. The setup of the game of the shop, the lower tables were on the ground floor, and the upper tables were on sort of like a mezzanine level.
I would have preferred playing downstairs because there was definitely more space.
More space and air, but but to be like, oh, I'm on table 4 here, and then before the hubris could get me, it was like 15-5. Have that. But that's sort of, even with that, I'm not saying that it was pure luck. Because that, if I'd made that White Lion charge, this is what if hammer, If I'd made that White Lion charge, that would have been the Spearmen and the White Lions going into the Trolls. So if I could have got 1 wound off with the Spearmen, this is my generic go-to tactic against hordes of Trolls. They would have stripped regen, and the White Lions could have gone through them with no real problem, because I've done it. I did it before in a practice game, and when that didn't happen, that's like, oh, what? That was the plan, and there is no plan B, and I think that's what I suffered with. And he's a good player, so he knew exactly. He made the most of that, and to get the even though you're trying to not get the white, there's no way to put the White Lions against 2 flying things that you're not going to get them covered with 2 flamer templates. And it's like, oh, I know what's going to happen next. I've been here before, and it's still devastating to strip off 3 ranks of White Lions. But yeah, it happens.
It does. It really does.
So that's a big win and then a big loss.
It's not a big loss. It's like mid-tier loss. Yeah, you still got 5 tournament points, which is 25% in it. So
where were you when this actually happened? to soothe my ego like that.
I was winning. I got my two wins.
Oh, it's that kind of arrangement, is it? It's all right for you.
So at the end of game 2, I was on 37 out of a possible 40 points. So
I was on 23 out of 40, which is still better than I was expecting.
It's better than 50%.
Yeah, that's what I was aiming for.
Yeah. So my last game of day 1 was against Demons of Chaos.
Oh, wow.
So there was 4 Demons of Chaos army at the tournament. And I would argue that they're all very different. So there was a -6 Nurgle demon army, not mine, which had a Skull Cannon of Corn in it and Eater Bloodletters as well. There was a 0 comp Demons of Chaos Army, which I'll go into next because that's the game I played. And there was the +1 Demon Army, which is mine, and then I don't remember the other one, but there was a mono Sonesh. He'd obviously watched my video on YouTube against Graham, and that army works. So,
Yeah, that's obviously what's happened.
he's watched that and gone, well, that works, So, yeah, there was like 4 very different. I would argue very different.
Is that the army you can just pick up with no experience and win? Is that the appeal?
Well, the one when I played against. Well, it was like, hey Graham, I fancy playing. What armies have you got? Because I don't want to use the same armies that I've got on my channel. And they went, oh, this is what I've got. I was like, oh, this is a mono Sonesh army. Can you make this? And it's like, yeah. It's like, okay, great. First game. Yeah. Good. I want to use it again.
See the appeal.
So my game 3 was against Matt Pasfield. It is -6 Nurgle, no, -6 demons. So there's like 7 comp points between us. And I've seen Matt use this army before. I think he's used it at the last 2 Triple Crowns, actually. So this is like the 3rd Triple Crown he's used this army at. So he's a very, very experienced player. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he won Triple Crown the first year I went with this army. So, or at least a variation of it. So he knows his stuff, and he's come to this, what he refers to as the optimized demon list. So I knew going into this game it was going to be arguably the toughest game of the tournament. So game 3, table 2. Game 3, table 3. And his army list was Epidemius as his general.
Ever heard that before?
Well, my Epidemius is not my general. I've got a great.
Oh, that's all the difference.
Yeah. So he then had a Nurgle Herald BSB on a Palanquin, same as me. However, he spent an additional 100 points on his Herald, giving him the regeneration locus ability, which gives the whole unit regen, and he spent 50 points on a Greater Gift of Nurgle, and he ended up getting the Bale Sword on his Herald, which it gives him poison attacks, and which he has anyway, but it does D3 wounds per wound, like when he wounds with it. He then took 41 Plague Bearers, full command, which is the same as me, but he went for the Banner of Discipline, whereas I went for the Banner of Swiftness. So, exactly the same units. The only difference is my movement 5, and I didn't feel like I needed the Banner of Discipline because I had a Leadership 9, Great Unclean 1, running around. Whereas he's only got like a Leadership 8 General, so I can understand why he took that. For his core, he went for 12 Bloodletters with full command. Obviously, I went Plague Toads. The Bloodletters are obviously really strong and really good to stick on the flank, and they're +1 comp. This is where he gets nerfed heavily. His comp hits hardest next. He had 1 unit of 4 Beasts of Nurgle, another unit of 4 Beasts of Nurgle, another unit of 5 Beasts of Nurgle, which is just horrendous because you get -1 per unit. So that's like -3 there. It's like -3 for Epidemius. It's -1 for the Plague Bearers. So what's that? That's like -7. He's on +1 for the Bloodletters. That's -6. You then get like, and this is like so many minuses in the list. A Skull Cannon, which again I don't have in my list. Don't get me wrong, Skull Cannons are fantastic. But yeah, it's not Nurgle, so I didn't take it. And then he had 1 unit of 3 Rotflies and 1 unit of 4 Rotflies with various banners, upgrades, and flaming abilities and stuff. So a -6 demon list, very, very tough, very, very scary, heavily optimized. And so I'm playing it with my not so optimized Nurgle army. We've both got Epidemius. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to hide Epidemius this game because even if he snipes him, he's got one. And the thing about Epidemius is he affects both armies. So it was like, hey, Epidemius might actually go, he's actually going to go in the front lines this time and fight. So.
Epidemius affects everything.
So his rule is any wounds caused by any Nurgle, Demon of Nurgle, friend or foe, or by spells from the lore of Nurgle, friend or foe, stacks his tally, yeah? And his tally affects all Demons of Nurgle, friend or foe. Right. So whenever he caused wounds with his Nurgle stuff, it would buff my army. And whenever I caused wounds, it would also buff his army. And it also meant that if one Epidemius dies, it doesn't matter because the other Epidemius is buffing both armies. So by the end of turn 2, we were on max stats.
Right. That escalated quickly.
Yeah, it was a lot going on. There was a lot of things to remember because obviously like he's on like -1 to hit and I'm on -1 to hit, and then one of like his units of Rotflies had the flaming banner, and like my unit of Rotflies had the flaming banner, and there was lots and lots to remember. You know, lots of D6 +1 attacks, and you know whatnot going on. So he's played this matchup before. I'd never played against another demon army with my demons, so I wasn't used to the mirror match. I had like no idea how to play it, so I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Yeah, I have no idea what's the optimum way of playing this. Right, those Furies are going to be useless, so you're just going to stay out the game for the whole game. And I'm going to sit my big block in the middle. I'm going to put Epidemius in it. I'm going to put my Herald in it. I'm just going to, go for it. And just see what happens, yeah? I was a little bit confident because I had a wizard and he didn't. But then also my wizard's a single monster and he's got this cannon. So I was just like, if my general can live and get into combat, I might be okay because, he'll live and I can cast my buff spells, my hexes and, my augments and things like that. So, so what happened was that he deployed out and he put his 3 units of Beast of Nurgle up front and his big block behind. So that meant, I'd have to get through the Beast of Nurgle before I could then get to Epidemius. And I was just like, you know what, fine. So he had 2 Beasts of Nurgle fighting my big block, and he had 1 unit of Beast of Nurgle fighting my Rotflies, and my Beasts of Nurgle were fighting his Rotflies, and my Great Unclean One my Soul Grinder got taken out by his 2nd unit of Rotflies, my Nurglings died as well. Plague Toads, did they live? No, I think the Plague Toad lived surprisingly. But he fired his cannon at my Great Unclean One, turn 1, and I passed my ward save, which is only a 5 ward save, but I passed it. So I was like, oh god, that's lucky. And then the next turn, his cannon misfired and blew itself up. I was like, fucking hell, that is what I needed. That is what I needed because now I've got a level 4 wizard and he's got nothing, yeah? And so I was like, right, let's get the Great Unclean One into combat. And he went into combat and he ended up killing the unit of Rotflies. And Matt was a bit pissed off about that. He was very gracious. I had overlooked that game. I had overlooked. And he was a bit annoyed that my Great Unclean One had got it, and he argued. We didn't argue, but we discussed that the Great Unclean One maybe should have taken more than the 0 wounds he took or something, because he was like, I'm getting like 9, I'm getting like 12 poison attacks into him each turn, and I was like, yeah, but that's only like 2 wounds a turn, and then I'm on a 5-up rerollable ward save because of the Epidemia. So the maximum
stats such as made 80% of his ward saves being thrown about.
But I'm also on re-rolling failed ward saves after turn 2. So yeah, don't get me wrong. I was extremely lucky that game. I'm not saying I wasn't. I was extremely lucky, and that I'll be honest, that's probably what carried me through. But there was my great unclean one fighting these rot flies, and there's like 3 rot flies attacking him. But I'm like, well, that's only 12 poisoned attacks. You're on like 6s to hit him, so that's only poisoned. You're gonna get 2 poisoned a turn, and then I'm gonna pass one of them because I'm on a re-rollable 5-up ward save. So you're only doing 1 wound a turn, and I'm hitting you back, and I've got multiple wounds 2 as my ability for that game. So every wound I cause is actually causing 2 wounds against the rotfly. So I thought the Great Unclean One would come through that. He's got he's 6 wounds, and he's like toughness 7, and I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, so he ended up getting through the rot flies, and then how that worked out was, and I was able to get through his Beast of Nurgle in the center. And what happened was there was this big grind in the middle of the board where my unit of Plague Bearers was versus his unit of Plague Bearers. And yeah, he had regen on his unit because of his BSB. But my unit had always wounds on a 5 or 6 from poison from the Epidemius Locus, which he comes with as standard. So it was like his tough to kill, but I'm wounding him easy. And then my level 4 was going, right, well, I'm either going to lower your toughness on your unit, so it means that even if I don't poison you, the ones that do hit are going to, whatever. And then I'm also going to lower your weapon skill and initiative, which means I'm going to attack first, and then I'm only hitting you on 4s, and you're hitting me on 5 still, and things like that. So I was like winning this war of attrition in the middle, and he decided to focus down my Epidemius, and I was like, yeah, fine, kill him. And he did, and then he went, right, Epidemius is dead, your whole army loses everything. I went, no, yours is still alive. And he was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. But whilst he was focusing down my Epidemius, I focused down his BSB. So that was like a pro for me. But because he killed Epidemius, I no longer had a Locus, and because I killed his BSB, he didn't have the regen, but he still had his Epidemius given his unit a Locus. And what happened at the end of the game was, I had my Great Unclean One charge into the flank of his unit, and the game ended, and he had 1 Plague Bearer, like 1 or 2 Plague Bearers left, an Epidemius, and 1 Rotfly on like 2 wounds. That's like all he had left. And I was just like, I was a little bit gutted because I was like, I should have, in that last turn of combat, I just fluffed like everything. I just fluffed all my attacks and everything. And I was like, shit, I should have been able to kill Epidemius at the end and that unit. But hey, it didn't work. And he held on. So at the end of the game, I'd lost Epidemius, but he wasn't my general, so that was okay. I'd lost my Soul Grinder, I'd lost my Nurglings, and I'd lost my Beast of Nurgle. And then all he had left at the end of the game was 1 Rotfly from one of the units, Epidemius, and like these 2 Plague Bearers, which meant that I didn't get his general, and I didn't get all the points for his Plague Bearers, and I didn't get the units for these Rotfly. But after calculating all that up, I got 18-13 victory points, and he got 1150. Yeah, so that's how.
So what was that in tournament points?
13-7. So it was
sounds like a right grind.
You got 2 Battle of Attrition armies, but like hats off to Matt. Like as I said, I passed a ridiculous amount of ward saves, and also I passed ward saves when it mattered. My general not getting sniped by the cannon, and my general taking out the rot flies and stuff like that. And I passed my ward saves when it mattered, and that put a lot of things in my favor. I had a unit of Beast of Nurgle fighting against rot flies for like 5 or 6 rounds of combat, and they had flaming banner, but I just kept passing my ward saves on the Beast of Nurgle, so they just hung around for like fucking ages. And I could see like Matt was like a little bit annoyed that I was being so lucky, and who wouldn't be, rightfully so. But he was very gracious, and he was just, at the end, he was like, well done. I think he was happy to hold on at the end. But I'm not going to deny that I was extremely lucky. And it was a really tough game. I never want to do Demons versus Demons again after that game. After that game, I was like, I do not want to play Demons versus Demons ever again. And guess what? In game 4, which we'll talk about in the next video, I played Demons again.
So careful what you wish for.
I was like, I never want to play against Demons ever again with Demons. And that's what I got in the next game. But Matt, what a player. What a great looking army. What a player. Possibly one of the hardest games I have ever played. And I was I came out with the win. So yeah. So what does that put me on? It puts me on 50 out of 60 points at the end of day 1.
So that's a pretty good place to end your day on. What, you've dropped 10?
Dropped 10 points.
That's right, dropped 10. Well, my game 3, which I'll openly admit now, I voted for the guy I played for the most sporting, because he definitely deserved it. This was I played Wood Elves, so it's Chris Hale's Wood Elves, and I thought, because I was surprised that I was still on the executive suite upstairs with all the the elite players. So I thought I was going right back downstairs. Then no, I was kept upstairs on, I think it was table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it was either table 6 or 7. So it was another elf off, which I've played Wood Elves, I think, twice before. I think I was saying on, I don't know if it was an episode you were on. Previously, I don't know what to point the army at, because the simple, run the White Lions at whatever the biggest threat is, and they should be able to, you should be able to tackle it. With Wood Elves, I don't know what the thing. It's all like small blocks of archers, and what does this do? And they're across the table. So he set up. He had a unit of I don't know what they call it, the Eternal Guard, the ones with the spears, right at the other end of the table in the forest that he'd created.
Was it a poison forest?
It was a poison forest.
And did he have 2 wizards in it?
Yes.
Yeah, I've played Chris before at Triple Crown. He's a nice guy. He's a good player.
Yeah, really nice guy. So he had that. Then he had 3 little units of archers, whatever they're called, and there was sort of a hill in the corner. Clay Guard. So he deployed one right at the corner and then along, and he had 2 units of not Sisters of the Thorn, the other ones, the combat
Wild
ones,
Riders.
Wild Riders. On the other side, he had an eagle, and I think that was it. So anyway, coming off this 15-5 loss, you've got to make up for it here. Your place in the the realm of Olympus is about to go here, unless
the annals of history.
Yeah, like I can't be an imposter up here in the god tier zone. So I thought, right, you're gonna have to go for whatever it was. So standing again, put the White Lions down. Phoenix is behind. The Shadow Warriors, I put them off to one side on the left-hand side, along with the archers were sort of on that side as well, and the bolt throwers on either side. And I just thought, right, go for it. So did I get the first? I can't remember who got the first turn. Well, anyway, so move the White Lions up as far as possible.
I'm Vanguard. I don't know if this was a mistake or not. I Vanguarded the Reavers up the right hand side, which put them sort of in shooting distance of the archers.
Mm-hmm.
But he decided to charge them, which I thought I don't know what's going on here, because they'll not win because it's 2 ranks. He's got 2 ranks, and he's got combat resolution on this side. So yeah, that's probably a good thing to do about them. I started to realize that he had desecrated a shrine to Renald when he made 4 wounds on my Reavers, and I rolled all of my armor saves on a 5 up. That's unusual. That never happens. So they held for an extra turn, keeping this shooting out of the way.
I'm surprised you stood. It was a charge reaction.
If I'd fled because of the way I was going, they would have gone off the board.
Oh, right.
So I thought I'd just keep them where they are.
You were like, there's no way he's going to charge me.
Well, I thought that's not what I was expecting. But anyway, they did eventually get killed, but they held them up for an additional turn. The Phoenix ended up charging a unit of War Dancers, which is 5 unit 5 War Dancers. That combat lasted longer than I expected.
Did he was it 4 ward save years?
I think it was the dance of extra attacks and the dance of 3 ward saves, and yeah. So whatever happened with that. Anyway, so I thought the unit of Eternal Guard, if that's what they're called, that's the biggest threat that I can identify, or the only big unit I can point at that I can identify. The Wild Riders are 2 fast cavalry. You're gonna be reforming and pointing at them. They're going to go around. That's a waste of time. See if your shooting can take care of them. So I couldn't get in the first turn. So I cast Fiery Convocation. So I thought I don't really need the ward save because the White Lions have got a 3 up against. But then it's non-magical shooting, isn't it? So I made a mistake there. But they've got Red Band of the World Dragon. So either way, I'm covered. Either they've got the Lion Cloaks if it's not magical, or they've got the 2 up ward save from Band of the World Dragon. So I don't really need to go for boosting the ward saves. So I think I was 6 dice and Fiery Convocation on the
that unit,
on that unit, which just incinerated. So they went up. He couldn't dispel it, and to the point where he had to break the characters out of it to stop the being incinerated down to ash. So on the other flank, the eagle was killed by shooting. Then the Shadow Warriors had some sort of melee, well, not melee, but sort of duel with the other War Dancers. So they ended up shooting all of them and just trying to avoid them and get out of the way, and that sort of tied them up. The Wild Riders were just, I think they got into combat with a Spearman and the other unit of Reavers, and they eventually, I think they destroyed them, but that put them right in the middle of between 2 bolt throwers and the 21 archers. So the shooting just removed the Wild Riders completely. So that's handy. I'm glad I made that change in my army list. Because that was killing off units that were already damaged. Was like how I was getting quite a few points, whereas I wouldn't be able to do that previously. So they're already Fiery Convocationed. The White Lions just go into the back lines and just chew everything up. And I've got some photos here of the unit of Wood Elf archers hit in the flank by this horde of White Lions, and he did kill a Phoenix eventually with shooting, but his rolling it's probably the worst I've ever seen, and I felt terrible because you can't wound, you can't hit, the dice have clearly abandoned you. To cap it off, he tried to cast some. He'd broken his wizard out of the unit, and she tried to cast something and immediately miscast. And I was just thinking in my head, it's going to be a 4. Sure enough, it was a 4. The spell he cast did no damage. The wizard went down into the realm of chaos. There's another 300 or 200 points for me for free. The bolt thrower one-shotted his hero on a unicorn, I think it was, that was floating around. Could cast dark magic, I think. I don't know what hero that was. So bolt thrower killed that in one turn. And just like, what have you done? Have you made some sort of pact with Satan that's gone wrong? Because I think it was turn 4 or 5. As I concede, this is so wrong that I'm going to concede at this point. But you didn't accept that. But that's fine. So yeah, the White Lions went through the back lines, chewed everything up there. The shooting got rid of the Wild Riders. Everything didn't go my way, nothing went his way. And got rid of the characters. In the end, the general was pinned between a Phoenix in the front and some Reavers in the back. So he was gone. And the end just said, I think it was turn 5, like, the only thing, nothing is going to escape, because in the next turn, the White Lions are going to chase after whatever I forget. I think it was another unit of archers, and I can either soul quench them to death, or I can, because they're fleeing, I'll charge them again and they'll flee off the board, or I'll catch them. So they're gone. And there was just nothing left. And throughout the game, he was never salty. He never was in a mood. He was always cheerful and optimistic and pleasant and great through the game. And like, if that was me, I would be fucking fuming. So 100% earned my vote for most sporting. But that was a 20-0, and
a nice way to end the day.
Yeah, so 2 big wins and a 15-5 loss. So I was quite pleased going out at the end of the first day.
What's that put you on? What, 45 points?
Let's have a look. Total this up now. Where am I? So, yep, 18 plus 5.
50. Yeah, 45. Yeah, 45.
So 38. No, 43. 18, 20, and 5.
18, 20, and 5.
Yeah.
So
in that one,
so you were quite close to me then, yeah.
See, it was ships in the night. We've passed again. So yeah, in that one I got 2,698 points.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah. But I can't say that if I was getting that bad luck, I would be. The best you could expect is that I just don't say anything and seethe.
But I played Chris before by the World Dragon Army, and I think I got a draw against him. It was so tight. It was how the army is supposed to work. Is he has 2 level 4 wizards. One is like a killy wizard, and then the other wizard is like what was there for high magic? Yeah.
Yeah, he had high and shadow because he was trying to kill the phoenixes with Pit of Shades, which standard for the way he was rolling just never worked.
No, and an option might be like dark magic. I think you can take dark magic with Wood Elves, so you can be like.
No,
anyway.
he did. He took dark magic because he was considering casting the Black Horror. So sorry, yeah, it was shadow and dark.
He didn't take high magic.
No.
Oh, all right. Well, when he played me like a year or so, like the last one, he took high magic and something else, right? And what he did was he went, "I'm going to Arcane Unforging your Banner of the World Dragon." So turn 1, he miscasts it. Banner of the World Dragon takes it off the unit, and then he proceeds to start shooting the unit with magical arrows, right, from all directions, which takes out like half the unit. And then he charges in with the Wild Riders, and he's like, "Yeah, I know I'm gonna they're going to die, but I'm going to cause loads of damage to you before you get to attack me with your strength 6 hits. And he did. And then he ended up wiping out the whole unit. Like, he wiped out the whole unit through this combination of Arcane Unforging and magical attacks. And it was just like, well, you know, you've obviously played against this army before. Yeah, you know exactly what you're doing. But the problem with his army is he can't deal with phoenixes. So there's like these 2 phoenixes just running around the rest of his army, just, you know, clearing things up. And I think that game ended in a draw at the end because he'd obviously killed my big unit, and he'd killed Ilario, and he'd killed the BSB, and it's just like all these points. But then my phoenixes had run around the rest of his army, and you know, and got the points there. So it ended up a draw. But the combination works quite well. I think I would always take high magic on Wood Elves. Well, one, I think high magic is one of the best lords of magic you can get. I think it's just brilliant. There's not a single spell in there that I don't like. I can't think of a single spell in there that I don't like.
The worst spell is probably Tempest, and even that's
Yeah,
all right.
but you know, Tempest, yeah, it's the worst spell in that lore, but it's still a large blast template.
Yeah, which with -1 to hit after.
Which
so.
-1 to hit afterwards. It's just like, and it only scatters D6 or something.
Yeah, D6.
So it's like you can just throw that on a big horde unit and do damage. Yeah, so it's a really good lore of magic. So I'm surprised he didn't take high magic this year.
I think because if you get the Black Horror and you send that down, because he had it. If I remember it right, he had it on the character on the unicorn. So I think it was a unicorn. So I think the idea was get down one flank and just send the Tempest, the Vortex, all the way down the line. But that didn't work in this instance.
No, that's fair enough. So, but yeah, he's a good guy, and he's used Wood Elves a few times, so he knows what he's doing. But yeah, that's a good win for you, though. It's a good win. It's hard to get points off Wood Elves sometimes. So
well, that's the thing. Like, what you're killing blocks of 10. Like, well, what's that worth?
160 points.
So it's nothing, is it? So that's the thing. Constant thing I have about Wood Elves is what am I pointing this army at? Because it's so nebulous, and they don't. That unit was. I don't think it was intended to do anything. It was just staying there while they cast spells, and the shooting should take stuff down.
For those who don't know, like, I was playing him, and you know, I got close to fighting that unit, and then he just moonstoned of the hidden way to like the other side of the board, and I was just like, prick. So yeah, it's a tough unit to get a hold of, but casting Fiery Convocation, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah, just burn them before you get there. When the wizard went, it was just like, I think he was trying to pit a shades the one of the phoenixes, because he did get one, and then like that scattered off or it passed his initiative test or something like that, and then so it's a miscast, and like, I know what's coming, I can see it before he's even rolled. I know what's happening. Yeah, she's gone to the realm of chaos.
But yeah, it's
what you do, it's the dice.
What can you do? It's the dice. That's exactly right. It's exactly right. Oh, but hey, that was day one.
Yeah.
And it was a good day by all. We ended up going to the pub afterwards, didn't we? And then
I ended up doing a bottle and a half of wine, which may impact the next episode of what happened. It's just getting my excuses in.
Yeah, and then we went out with a large group of people, didn't we, for food afterwards? So it was a really nice day. You know, great tournament. Me and you were actually supposed to play a practice game the day before, but traffic was awful.
Yeah, it should be 2 hours to get from where I live to Derby, and it took 6.5. So thank you, Highways England. You know, I was sat, and I genuinely thought, I am never getting to my destination.
It's you could have just got home.
Yeah,
I was
thinking, when it had taken me 2 hours to get 20 minutes away from where I live, I thought I should just turn around and try again at 9 o'clock. But there was no way off. Like there's literally, it was so jammed with traffic. There was no way off. And I was going over the Manchester Canal, like the Manchester Canal. I've been here for 2 hours, and I'm 20 minutes away from where I live.
You could have just left your car there and just gone out and walked
I
home.
could have walked it. Definitely could have walked it.
It was the same on the other side of the country as well. It was supposed to take me 2 hours to get there, and it took me 4.5 hours to get there. It was like Fridays. It's Fridays for you, isn't it? So
I'll mention my apparently long-term rival Adam with these Dark Elves, because throughout the day we just noticed that we were like one table along and next to each other and near, and like we should be playing each other by all accounts, but we're just not, because we played when I went to Smash the Titans 1. It was the first game I played against them, so it's like a grudge match, High Elf and Dark Elves. And so throughout the tournament, we were just like one table along. Like, if we just changed the score a bit, then we could play each other, but it didn't end up happening.
Strangers in the night.
Well, it's a long-term rivalry. I mean, I've got my good elves, and he's got his dark elf nonsense.
Dark elf nonsense. You know what? I'm going to say this now. When I saw the armies for the tournament, the first thing I said was, I don't want to play any dark elf player.
There was a lot of them.
There was 4. I think the breakdown was 4 demons, 4 high elves, 4 warriors, 4 dark elves, a couple of Skaven, a couple of Tomb Kings, a couple of wood elves. There was 1 vampire count, there was 1 empire, there was 1 dwarfs, 2 lizardmen, 1 orc and goblin, a couple of ogre kingdoms. So the only armies that weren't represented were 3 wood elves. 3 wood elves.
There's a lot. Yeah,
but they, so there's like 11 elf armies there. So 3 Skaven armies. So, the only armies that weren't represented were Beastmen, Chaos Dwarves, and Bretonnians. Which is why I've said next time I go to a tournament, I will be either using Beastmen, Bretts, or Tomb Kings.
Well, there was at least 2 Tomb Kings in this.
There was 2 Tomb Kings, but they're notoriously a bad army. So Beastmen, Bretts, or Tomb Kings. So since the tournament, all I've been doing is writing army lists.
I've done a slight, because what I realised after this tournament, because my BSB had Talisman of Preservation, and I was just looking at this like, why?
Shield of the Moat Worm. That's all you need.
Doesn't need it.
It's only 15 points.
Yeah, but I could take Rampage as standard on him.
You could take Banner of Eternal Flame on him.
Don't give away what I might do in the next tournament.
And then your White Lions won't have to worry about those trolls anymore.
Oh, but then it's horrible when you do that and someone says, "Oh, I've got Dragonbane Gem." Like a 2 ward save. I mean, who goes around with that? That's ridiculous.
2 ward save. Well, I won't know. I play demons and we can't choose our magical items.
So, yeah, maybe. I'll have a think.
But no, good day 1. Triple Crown guys are great. I enjoyed listening to their live streams.
They asked me to go on the live stream, but I had to say no because I've face for radio.
Well, you know what? That shows how much of a celebrity you are, because I didn't get asked once.
Yeah, because you're famous enough
on the live stream, and I was like, it's because I'm too charismatic. And
I think,
that's why you don't want me on your live stream.
They don't want the competition. That's why they picked me.
Oh, but it was, but no, it was a good day 1, and then we're going to be doing day 2 on my channel, aren't we?
Yes, so if you want the exciting conclusion of what happened, which 50% of what happened next, I'm not so proud of. But if you want to find out, we're doing the next bit on Alan's channel, which is Toy, I've got it written down here, Toy Soldier Tales, which I will put a link in underneath.
You said that before, but you failed to do so.
Did I? Well, it's my channel. I can do what I want.
But thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for coming on. I mean, I know. What are you now? YouTube celebrity, Highlander master, and reigning tournament champion.
You'll be spoilers you give it away. Just will be spoilers.
Oh, like anybody who's listened to this doesn't know what happens.
Yeah, well, they might not know a breakdown of the games. You're right. But,
Yeah, well, still, my channel. I'm not doing spoiler alerts. That's too complicated.
Your channel, your rules.
Yeah, I'm not putting timestamps. So change your mind on that. Deal with it. I didn't say what tournament. I assume you've won one in the past.
The last tournament I won was one of Graham's.
Right. Okay. The fluffy one.
Yeah, I had to play 2 High Elf players.
Was that the tournament where I got this list?
Both of which had Banner of the World Dragon.
Oh, wasn't me then.
It was you. You were one of them.
I didn't have Banner of the World Dragon.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Anyway, it was like that one tournament, and then I played another High Elf guy, who had Banner of the World Dragon, and I played against James Irwin, who's obviously been on the channel with his Orcs and Goblins. I played him game 2. So yeah, I won that one, which is very nice. But that was the last one I won. I haven't been to many since, but no, Triple Crown. I like going to Triple Crown because it's lots of different armies, lots of different people. It's 2 days, which is always nice, and it's hard. It's a hard tournament.
Yes, I certainly like the challenge. That's my excuse. So yeah, tune in next time to find out what happened. Not that I might have given away what happened. But yeah, I can leech some of your subscribers, and I might give you a mention on my Twitter. I might not.
Yeah, I still haven't put my pictures up from the tournament. So.
Oh, I'll put a link down to all the pictures because picture spam is one of my big things about playing these games.
I don't know how you had time to play the game with the amount of pictures that you took.
That might explain some of my scores.
I was like, I'm going to take a picture at the start, and then I'll take pictures between the games.
No, it was just when someone's going, oh, I'm ruined on to, yeah. Click. You got almost, yeah, who cares? Take some pictures here.
well, game 1 and game 2, I took pictures, and stuff like that. And then game 3, as I said, it was like really, really tough. I forgot to take pictures, and I was like, oh crap, take a couple.
You can tell how many, depending on how many pictures I've taken, is how well the game's gone. Because if it's going well, I think, yeah, this is great. When it's going badly, like, I don't want to take a picture of this. I don't want this to be recorded.
Fake news.
Yeah. Well, it's my channel, my rules. Right. So that's this bit. Next bit is coming in the future. But yeah, see what happens. See what happens. To be continued.
To be continued.